has cancelled the visa of tennis star Novak Djokovic, with the case once again expected to go from the tennis court back into the federal court. After days of consideration, a statement was issued by the Minister Alex Hawke just over an hour ago. The world number one is yet to respond to this second cancellation, and his place at the Australian Open is once again up in the air. Amy Bainbridge begins our coverage.
As Novak Djokovic stepped on court to train this morning, the superstar remained engulfed in speculation about his future at this year's Australian Open. This evening, the Immigration Minister Alex Hawke gave his answer.
Today, I exercise my power under Section 133C of the Migration Act to cancel the visa held by Mr Novak Djokovic on health and good order grounds on the basis that it was in the public interest to do so. I carefully considered information provided to me by the Department of Home Affairs, the Australian Border Force and Mr Djokovic.
I'm surprised that they went ahead with that. I assume his lawyers will now seek judicial review of that decision.
Court documents show Djokovic thought he did have a valid medical exemption when he entered Australia last Thursday, only to be detained and questioned by Border Force officials. His visa was cancelled over his vaccination status and then reinstated when the Federal Circuit Court found he hadn't been afforded due process. With the tournament just days away, some players are voicing their own frustration.
98% of the players have been vaccinated and did what they had to do in order to come and perform and play in Australia. A very small majority of that percentage chose to follow their own way, makes the majority look like they're all fools or something.
Attention has also turned to possible reputational damage. Former tournament director Paul McNamee tweeted, "I don't like our Grand Slam being subject to ridicule."
If it looks either difficult or not clear or complicated, or when somebody arrives and they find themselves in trouble that they're not receiving the warmest of welcomes, that is a problem for Australia as a whole, and therefore by extension for Melbourne, given its status as our sporting and events capital.
Late today, the ABC learned 2 players who flew into Australia for next week's Open with the same exemption as Novak Djokovic have flown out of the country of their own accord.
Amy Bainbridge is at Melbourne Park tonight. We're also joined by political reporter Matthew Dorham at Parliament House in Canberra. Let's go to you first, Amy. What happens now for Novak Djokovic?
Well, again, Ben, we're in this holding pattern. It is widely believed that Novak Djokovic will challenge the decision by the Immigration Minister, Alex Hawke. However, there is no official word yet. We understand that Team Djokovic is reviewing the decision and considering their options. It is, of course, a very difficult situation for the Australian Open organisers, Tennis Australia. The tournament is due to begin on Monday, and Novak Djokovic is the number 1 seed. They do have contingency plans in place, and likewise we do know that the Federal Circuit Court also has resources and plans in place at the ready should there be requirements for a hearing on this matter over the weekend. Ben?
And Matt Doran in Canberra. Look, it took the government days to reach this decision. It finally comes through at a few minutes to 6 on a Friday evening. What took so long?
Well, Ben, good evening to you. We know that the eyes of the world have been on the Immigration Minister Alex Hawke as he's been considering this case. And because of what happened on Monday with that initial hearing in the Federal Circuit Court and the concession from the Commonwealth that it had acted unreasonably, you can assume that the government wanted to be seen to be fully considering Novak Djokovic's case before handing down this judgment. The government and the Prime Minister in particular had come out very hard on this case last week. Scott Morrison said that the rules apply to everyone. So had the Commonwealth allowed Novak Djokovic to stay in Australia on this visa, it would have been an embarrassing back down for the government and opened it up to allegations of special treatment for an individual simply because he has a blistering backhand game. We know that Alex Hawke, in cancelling this visa, has cited the public interest and also health grounds. Now, having one unvaccinated foreigner walking around Melbourne at a time when thousands of new COVID-19 cases are being recorded each and every day may seem minimal, but it's the principle here. With Australians having dealt with incredibly tough restrictions over the past 2 years of the COVID-19 pandemic and those rules for entry into Australia that people have to be fully vaccinated unless they have a medical exemption, it simply wouldn't have been tenable for the government to allow him to stay. Novak Djokovic is, of course, a A-level world sporting star. It's not like he's a backpacker here. He does have that significant legal team and the financial means to challenge this case, so we'll have to wait to see whether or not the Commonwealth has to make any further comments on his situation. Ben?
Certainly not over yet. Matt Doran in Canberra, Amy Bainbridge at Melbourne Park, thank you. Well, in other news, a 6-year-old girl is among